Hello, everybody. I've decided I'm going to spend the next several videos doing more of DevOps SRE interviewing questions, uh, geared more for junior positions, kind of basic, kind of not, because I've seen that the interest for the interview questions are much higher than actual technical detailed videos that I've been doing, which I'll continue to do for my own personal sake. But it looks to me like people are generally more appreciative of interview questions and answers that I've been putting out. So here is a list of questions I'm going to cover over the next several videos. And that's why you see all these other questions on below. But today I'm going to try and cover maybe 4 questions. Let's see how many we can get done. So the first question that might come up has to do with rolling strategies, right? This question can come in different forms, but a simple way of asking that question is, what is a blue-green strategy versus a canary deployment, and what have you used, or when to use what and what not? Sometimes it's more vague, like what rolling strategies have you used in your previous company or in your practice? So let's tackle that, right? So this has to do with how you do continuous deployment, not continuous integration, continuous deployment, the CD part of CI/CD. When you have code ready to go, it's been integrated, you have the container or whatever is ready to go for production or staging, right? Actually, for production, right? You don't want to deploy to, when possible, you don't want to deploy to all your customers all at once, if possible. Why? Because what if you could test a little bit without impacting all your customers, so you can roll back and test and whatnot, so that the potential impact to your customers would be much, much minimal if something were to go wrong, right? Especially on a complex software, complex service, when you're rolling out something that's significant, you want to know if this is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing, and is it introducing new bugs or not. So there are 2 ways of doing that. One is blue-green, that's 50-50. So you introduce your new code to 50% of your customers, and you do testing on that, you gather metrics on that, and when things look good, then you switch, right? And well, actually, you can do blue green in a couple different ways, but one way would be to do half of or infrastructure, run new code, do the testing either yourself or maybe with some customers. You can do either or. But the idea is, once you've done it, once you're happy with the new deployment, you switch, right? You put the new one into the hands of the customers, and old one kind of goes in the background. If you see issues, you already have the other one working, that was working before the new deployment, so you switch back. That's the rollback strategy, right? But sometimes you want to do just a little bit, like maybe you introduce the new version of something to only maybe 5% of your customers, 10% of customers. That's called the Canary deployment. There are different tools that will allow you to do such things, but that's a different topic for another day. But these are the 2 strategies that you can do. Now, when to do what? When That's kind of a hard question to answer, but generally speaking, Canary is really the better way to go because you introduce for a little bit. But if you are deploying, let's say, a big, huge change, right? Then you may want to do blue green because you want to have the new version running for a while before switching between the blue and the green, right? When you're just introducing maybe one small thing, right? One new feature, you want to do Canary because you just want to test out and see if it's working and if the customers are liking it or not, right? So that's that. The next question, what logging solution have you used? This question I've been asked a few times at least. This is a common problem people face in the SRE space of things. You may have thousands of VMs running or thousands of containers running, right? How do you gather all the logs that are coming from them, put in some platform so that you can do monitoring over them, you can do metrics over them, and you can do all sorts of things. But the big problem here is, how do you get the logs into a platform in real time and indexed, right? There are lots of third-party solutions for these things. Datadog is a common one. Splunk is another one. These are costly third-party solutions. The other one you can use is Prometheus if you're doing Kubernetes. But there are many others. But you answer the question based on your experience. But if you don't have any experience, you can talk about things that you know of, like Prometheus, Datadog, Splunk, and whatnot. Next question is, what problem does containerization solve, right? So with this question, the interviewer is looking for is your knowledge of the history of how things progress in the development world, right? Before containers, we used to have virtual machines, and there was a big barrier between the production environment versus development environment. You make something work, you deploy to production, there's a problem, and then development goes, well, it works on my machine. I don't know why it doesn't work in production. Something must be wrong with your end, right? And the SRE folks or the operations folks will say, hey, you broke something. It was working before, now it's broken. Must be something you did, right? So containers are exact same thing from development all the way to production. That's what it does. There's no difference between what the container is doing between development and staging and QA and production environments. So you package something up, basically kind of like a virtual box, right? And you send it out, and the content of that box has not changed at all between development all the way to production. That's the problem that they solve, and that brings development team, and that enables the development team and the SRE/operations teams close together, because nothing has changed in the middle. All right, next question. What version control tool have you used? This is kind of a question that an interviewer would ask, because notice he or she is not giving you a tool to speak of. So it's kind of open-ended question. Most people use Git. There's the really old one called Subversion. There's other things like Bitbucket. There's GitHub. There's GitLab. Either way, they're all basically doing the same thing, basically controlling your version of your code. You can roll back, you could have commits, you could have merges, and so on and so forth, right? So you have to speak of the tool that you use. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you learn Git before ever setting on an interview with anybody for a DevOps role, because that is a bread and butter of what people do in an SRE space these days. You might be looking at and get things to do in the third day of your job or of the next second week of your job. So you must know about Git enough to talk about it during an interview. All right, I hope you found these videos useful. If you do, please like and subscribe. That really helps me with the YouTube's algorithm. And I will see you in the next DevOps/SRE interview questions video.